Welcome to part 2 of your first week of videos. Today in this video we're going to be talking about the difference between healthy boundaries and dysfunctional boundaries and what that can look like or how that can manifest. So I'd like to break that down and describe some of the symptomology of how that may look when we're in each of these different positions that are on the wall here. Okay, so these are the different boundary states that we have here. So we have non-existent boundaries. I'm going to go through and explain all of these and the symptomology of how they play out. Non-existent boundaries. This means that we have no protection at all from data coming in, data coming out. This here is walls instead of boundaries, and walls instead of boundaries have us be invulnerable. So this is too vulnerable, this is invulnerable, and then the damaged boundary system means that we move from sometimes being able to set limits, sometimes being able to take care of ourselves, sometimes being able to say no, sometimes being able to set boundaries, and at other times not. Like in certain domains, I might be able to say no, so it might be I'm able to say, if you ask me, I'm running out of time. Is it okay for you to hang my washing out? But I know that I've got to be on a call in 5 minutes. So I might be able to say, look, I'm really sorry, I can't do that. No. And then you get upset and a bit angry, and you walk off, and then I go, oh my God, I just made Damien really angry. Okay, so I was able to say no. I was able to have a boundary there and act in my own best interest. Then when it came to having an emotional boundary, I made up that I can actually make him feel something. So this is an example of a damaged boundary system. So in certain domains, I could be good at it, and other domains not so good. Or at certain times I could be great, but then when I'm sick, I'm terrible at it. Or when I'm stressed, then I move to here. this is moving from non-existent boundaries to walls and back again. So this is where I flip between the two. So from no boundaries whatsoever to walls. This is where, you know, somebody says to me, let's say we've had an interaction that has been difficult and it's not complete and there's still things to be worked through, I become unavailable. I don't answer my phone. I'm very busy. My life, the things I have to do are very important, much more important than resolving this. And I feel to you quite scary. You know, I feel angry, and your experience is a little bit like kind of like walking on eggshells. So I could go from that to you come to my house. I have very precious things, but I don't let you know how I want you to treat those things, and perhaps you accidentally break something and I don't say anything, and then you have you eat all the food out of my fridge and you drink my wine, and you stay up later than me and talk really loudly on the phone, and I lie in bed getting upset and a bit angry, but I don't say anything, and then tomorrow you get this. So this is where I could say, hey, Jane, it'd be great if I'm happy for you to come over, and I just want to let you know with your 2 kids, like, it's not going to be okay for me for them to play in this room, or perhaps I'll move things. Actually, that would be me having like some good self-care. And then I might say, it's okay for you to come and stay for the weekend. However, what I would like is for you to bring some food that that you and your kids want to eat. And I'm happy to make tea and breakfast in the morning. But other than that, let's work something out where we're creating something together. And I like to go to bed at 9 o'clock. How's that going to work for you? And I really like it to be quiet. That would be me kind of letting you know what my limits are and giving you choice in that, and staying open to conversation. This one isn't. Something I want to be a little bit sensitive to is that when I discovered the work that we're teaching right now, I actually found it really confronting. Because what I really identified with was somebody who actually had non-existent boundaries, who would then flip into walls. And someone who lives with no boundaries. Okay, so I just want to preface here. Often our boundary system, whichever one you identify with, and I'm not going to go too much into this, but I do want to set some context. So often what our boundary system currently is going to be a reflection of the boundary system that existed in our home. So we learn to have non-existent boundaries when we live in homes where no one has boundaries, right? Or we learn to have walls because often we've grown up with someone who demonstrated walls, and we then start to model that. So I was like I'm a combination of my mum and my dad, right? So I have like non-existent boundaries, and then I have walls. So what this one, it was quite painful for me to firstly get the impact that was then having and had on my life, and choices that I'd made. All the places with having non-existent boundaries that I can actually be authentically offended by another, or violated or abused, if you like, and not even know it, and not even know that I had any right to experiencing the world any differently, is where this person is. And so whilst I have no boundaries around myself, I also don't realize that other people have boundaries too. So people can say whatever they want to me pretty much, and somehow I'll find a reason why it's my fault, and I'll try and fix it. Or I, be in work environments where I I thought it was okay for people to have really unrealistic expectations of me, and me have to just push harder, and them to tell me that I'm doing it wrong and I'm stupid and a mess up, and for me to just kind of think I need to pedal faster and work harder. And we're going to go into examples of these when we're in person. So, but basically, what I want to say is that I will allow anything can happen to me here. But in the same way, I move through life having no awareness that other people have boundaries too. So I can and have authentically offended people left, right, and centre, and not known. This is such important work, and it's slow work. It's slow work, and so part of what will be happening over these next 5 weeks is we're going to be noticing these things about ourselves, and we're going to have moments where we get to feel a little more response time, space to change something that we've just thought or done, such that we're no longer in an offensive position, or having been offended upon and not kind of cleared that up. So when we move through life like this, my reality was one of feeling anxious a lot, feeling hurt a lot, feeling like I was giving all the time, And at first that was great and I was good at it. And then I'd start to feel resentful, like full of resentment here. Anxiety, resentment, messy, it's messy. And then actually no marker to understand why it's messy. So then it makes sense, right, that if someone's living like this, that they're going to flip into here, because all of a sudden I realize how vulnerable I am. And then this is like a fantasy boundary. It's like, right, that's it. I'm never going to let this happen to me again. You know, I'm not going to let you hurt me anymore. And this is almost like all the times that I didn't do what I needed to do, and now I'm going to do it. This is where we can flip between the two. And we've got here examples of walls can be anger, fear, silence, words, walls of pleasantness. I also like to put on here busyness because that's one of mine, but that can come into words too. I happen to be a words and busy person, but I imagine there's people who just get busy and don't actually do it with words. And so, but the most kind of typical ones that you're going to see and experience and for yourself or in others is going to be anger, fear, and silence. So basically, we use that feeling, anger, fear, or silence as a way to protect ourselves because we don't actually know how else to. And you can feel when it's a wall because it's inflexible. So where we want to be is somewhere where there's firmness when necessary, but there's flexibility. Yeah, where there's protection but vulnerability. And this is what we're doing. Where we together are learning, how do I have protection and vulnerability? I think vulnerability is being largely misunderstood as lack of containment quite often, and kind of which would be more here. And yeah, so the damage boundary system, I really kind of explained it as much as I really need to previously, but I would talk here also, I want to talk about limits. So this person has a sense of at times what their limits are and at other times don't. So for example, you might be someone who's really great at keeping your body in shape and you've got a really healthy relationship with that, but your budgeting is shit. And like you're actually completely in denial of tax and how much money you're spending or earning, or you don't want to ask people to pay you for your services. Right? This is an example. This would be a damaged boundary system. People with damaged boundary systems again can be like this. So I can move through the world and I only have a partial understanding of what other people's boundaries are, and so I'm partially able to sense what's going on, and at other times I'm going to be authentically offending people. And to know kind of what's an authentic offense, I recommend looking in your manual at the list of authentic offenses that we put there, and they'll become much more familiar the more that we go through the program. And then the next that I want to talk about is a healthy boundary system. Yay!
Bring that on.
Bring it on. So what does it look like to actually have a healthy boundary system? And in the part 1 video, we talked about the different bodies. So we have a thinking boundary system, we have a feeling boundary system, we have a physical boundary system, and then we have a behavior boundary system. So the action that I take outward into the world. That can be relationally, doesn't have to be though. So these are the different systems, and I'm going to need to have a way to moderate what's coming towards me and what's going out of me. And this is how we're going to work with you guys in lots of different ways. We're going to work at an embodiment level how to do this. We're going to work in with relational skills in our expression. How do we do this? We're going to look at mindfulness and how do we check out what we're thinking and have awareness of that. So I'm going to describe to you now something that Pia is a Pia Melody's visualization. So you may be someone where visualization works really well for you, and you may not be. So if it doesn't, we're going to workshop other ways throughout the course that does work for you. But just so that you get a visual understanding, like you have here, of what a healthy system looks like, I'm going to describe that. So what we have here, and I'm not going to zoom into it, just have a look in your manual, this will be there. So what we have here is we have, so all of our people, you notice they're green. So we have our green person here. And then around him, we have a black line. So this black line that's around me, I like to think of like a bulletproof vest. Or you can think of it like a metal sheet that's underneath your skin, but it's close to you, yeah? And this is here, nice and close to my body, and it has doors, but the doors open inwards, okay? So these doors are doors that I open by choice. No one else can come and open those. And that's a reality, by the way. So that's healthy functional thinking, is that before, when we were in the part 1 video, we were talking that nobody can actually make me feel something. This is what I'm describing to you now. When I choose to open a door, that's me allowing myself to feel something. It's going to make more sense in a moment when I build out what it looks like relationally. So this metal sheet here is to protect me from information coming in and the world around me, and also protects me when, it protects things coming inside of me. I'm going to leave it there. And then around here, you're going to see this is like a bell shape. So you can imagine that there's a bell that's over the top of my energy field. So this bell is made of a material that I can shrink and I can expand. And I will change how close this is to me based on how close I want to let somebody to me. So, for example, if I'm about to have a conversation with Carly that's quite a challenging conversation, I'm not going to pull, and I'm feeling wobbly, I'm not going to pull that really, really close to me. Even though he's somebody who I want to allow close to me, in different contexts, I actually need to know that I'm going to need some more protection, right? So I'm going to expand that physical external boundary that I have here, and I might say, like, that's how much space I need from you. So I'm not going to lie in bed next to him and have that kind of a conversation, because it means that my bell shape is very, very close to me. And if my bell shape's very, very close to me, I'm going to get triggered very, very quickly. Yeah, so because I don't have enough space. So before going into a chargy conversation, it's really good hygiene to kind of check out, where am I at, and then how much distance do I need? So this bell shape is the physical space that I need. Yeah. So this is my physical space boundary. And then here are this is the boundaries for my internal system, my internal boundaries. I'd love, Carly, if you would actually give me some feedback in this moment. I'm going to play this out so you can see what it looks like. So first thing I'm going to do, so I've asked Carly for feedback. So I know that there's some feedback that's going to come. Now, I'm not always going to do that, right? Like that for example, I might be just about to call someone and I know it could be a difficult conversation. I could do this before I make the call, but other times we're going to be in an interaction, right? And it's like I don't have as much time, but I'm going to play it out blow by blow so you can see what happens when you do have time. So I've asked for feedback. Then I'm going to check in with myself and feel, I don't know what the feedback's going to be either. It could be positive. It could be like, I think you're amazing. It could also be like, I think you've talked for too long. It could be either, right? And so what I'm going to do in this moment, because I'm on camera, I want to stay upright. I want to stay clear and open, but clear. So I want to stay vulnerable, but I also want to stay protective of myself. I don't want to burst out in tears or, So I'm going to actually create like around myself just to about here. This is kind of what feels right to me. We're going to play a game for us to practice this together. So I've got now a sense of a bell that's around me. And then I'm also presencing in my body the feeling of having a metal sheath around my body. And it feels safe for me in there. Inside of this bulletproof vest, it feels really safe. So, Carly, will you give me some feedback?
Sometimes I want more empathy from you.
Okay. Sometimes I want more empathy from you. That's a good one. Okay, so I let that information come towards me. I hold it here and I ask myself, so obviously what is in that statement is a request for more empathy. So is it true for me that I could have more empathy in this relationship? So what Carly could have said is, you're not that empathic. Let's just say that, okay? Because that's actually feedback about me versus a request. So you're not that empathic. All right. So is that true for me? I'm not sure. No, because at times I can be really empathic. At other times I see myself not being. So there's an interesting spot here where it's like, it's true some of the time, it's not true some of the time. But there is truth in that for me. So I'm going to let that in. Yeah, but I'm going to let that in a right-sized kind of a way. I'm going to let that in and I'm going to let myself have some feelings about that. The feelings that I have about that is a little bit of sadness. I also feel a little bit of grief around kind of where that comes from in me and in the moments when I'm not empathic, why that is, and that's historical for me. I have awareness of, wow, it's like I feel some pain about that and that's about me, versus like, how could you say that to me?
What I love in the example that you just gave and the way you demonstrated was the taking the charge out of it, of like, it could potentially be receiving a feedback like that could be like, now I'm all triggered and I'm upset about it and like, you guys are being too judgmental, or like there's all this stuff that could be made up about it, rather than just like this sense of like checking, is there a truth in that? If there is, then I actually am choosing to let that in. Yes. And I'm choosing now, maybe there is a little bit of a pain about that, but yes. I'm understanding that that's my pain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rather than it's like you've done like, you guys are just always picking on me about this thing, or like yes. whatever it could be.
Yes.
Like trying to get rid of it, which is more of a walls response.
Yes.
Or the other response is just collapsing, like I'm a bad person. I messed this up.
I'm really sorry.
I'm really sorry I messed this up.
Then people pleasing and not really saying, not finishing off my piece, or not saying, this is this one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And to me, it really highlights the filtering function yes. of the boundary. So we've got this external boundary, the bell, right? And if it doesn't seem true at all, I'm not gonna bring it close at all, right?
Yep.
But if there's like some part which is like maybe true, I like might just take that part in and have a look at it. And so now I don't have to like take in maybe there's a kind of a sense of you're always going over time. Well, no, that doesn't fit for me, but sometimes I might go over time. I'm going to take that in, I'm going to look at it.
Yeah.
And then maybe I test it out, like you said, with some friends, you know,
Yeah.
and then I can take that into my internal boundary, open the doors to this kind of bulletproof vest, you know, and then actually go, wow, yeah, sometimes I do that, and actually have discernment about, you know, when that might be, and based on that have kind of right-sized feelings about it rather than kind of disproportionate feelings. You know, so there's like these two levels of filtering that's going on in the boundary system you've described. You know, and this to me is what healthy boundaries are about, right? Like walls is there's no filtering. I can't actually take on anybody else's reality, right? But no boundaries, it's like there's nothing's being filtered out.
Yes.
You know, this is everything. I'm everyone about everything.
Yes.
I also like in the right size thing opens the space, like it takes out the charge, even though there may still, like, especially if it's true and it's something that I'm like, you know, I might have an awareness of and I don't really, like, it's something that I actually not that proud of about myself. There might be some, you know, right size pain that I feel, but that awareness, like opening to that feedback and the awareness that gives, opens up the space for choice and inquiry. I can like now go, well, maybe some of this is true, and maybe there's some other way that I could do things. Maybe there's another possibility, and I can inquire into that and start testing out different things in my life. How I can do something different so that this isn't the reality. That's when the feedback becomes helpful. It actually assists me in my growth rather than it's like interpreting as criticism, which is the no protection, or just not taking on at all, which is the wall. So it actually becomes a functional part of me becoming a more fully expressed and elegant human being.
Totally.
Yeah.
There's one more piece that I really wanted to go. Like this stuff, remember back in the first model, there's double layers. So there's a way these boundary systems are what's coming towards me, but there's a way these things happen in what's going out of me too. So there's a containment boundary around like ways that I have walls, you know, like I can be really good at walls of silence where I actually like mute my expression outwards. People can't feel me coming out. So they don't actually know where I'm at or what I'm feeling, only that I feel really far away and distant from them. So I'm not letting them feel me, you know. I might actually, so this is where this might be happening. I can actually feel them, but they can't feel me. I'm not letting them, I feel hurt by something someone else is doing, and I don't have an ability to articulate what it was that hurt me or what I need and want, and instead I just put up a wall. But the wall is an inside wall, so they don't get to feel me, but I might still be receiving them. So they can be like, so there's a lot of dynamics. That's what I'm saying. That's here. So there's
walls. I don't know my impact. I have no sense. I cannot. There's no relation.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So if there's an internal wall, my silence is an internal wall. I'm not expressing myself outwards. I'm not letting you feel me. And I don't know what that's like for you. I don't know what your experience is. I'm just distant. You know? And you might be in pain about it, but I'm not feeling that part.
This is an obsession with essentially protecting myself.
Yeah.
And my obsession on protecting myself will have me have. I have no attention on how that's impacting you. Like I definitely, for myself, can definitely go into walls of fear, and I feel entitled to. You know, like I'm scared, I'm anxious, but I don't think about how that's actually impacting the space around me, how I might be doing things in a stressful way actually that has other people then feeling rushed or nervous that they're going to get it wrong. And when I'm here, I can have no awareness of that. Luckily I've gotten better, but I can have no awareness there.
And so part of the process is as we develop the awareness, we actually start to dismantle these walls. And we actually start to develop boundaries here. So there's a process where we actually have to take things apart and we have to construct new things. And so there is this unfolding of developing a healthy boundary system.
Yeah.
Just on that process, you know, and Prem, you touched on this, and this is a journey. There's a whole journey here, you know, and I think it's really important to be patient and compassionate with ourselves in that journey. And the nature of our walls, our boundaries, is going to be connected to like what our belief systems are. You know? So if I have no boundaries, normally it's going to be because I've got some shame or I've like to make everything mean about me. And so there's probably some kind of low self-esteem style beliefs in there that have me just like taking on everybody else's reality. And of course, you know, this can actually make it hard to take in that reality because, you know, that I have shame and low like self-esteem, I start feeling insecure about, you know, like I become ashamed of the fact that I have shame, you know, and
Yes.
then that can be really hard to deal with, you know,
Yes.
to take in the reality of some of these things.
Mm.
You know, and then also, as we start to practice shifting what our default position is, it feels like so different. Like healthy boundary, if I've had no boundaries at all, is going to feel like walls to me because it's like so far from where I've actually been, you know, and so to actually learn new reference points kind of is quite jarring to start with, right? So, you know, it can take quite a bit of trial and error, you know, and it might mean that we're kind of inelegant to start with, and we kind of, maybe sometimes we do flip to walls after having no boundaries, and, you know, quite strongly, and then we've got to learn about the impact of that. And so I think there's quite often just kind of recalibrating ourselves and learning how to actually be well calibrated in our boundaries. And, you know, and this is really a lot of the process that we're doing in Foundations, is kind of practicing, you know, different experiments in an embodied and a relational sense to actually recalibrate ourselves and how we actually work.
I love that you talked about that healthy boundaries at first are actually going to feel dysfunctional. So like the dysfunction will actually feel more functional than the functional way, because literally we formed these patterns, these styles of protection, if you like, or no protection to survive. And when we start to change that, literally there's wiring in the brain that says you are going to die. Like these patterns are formed at a very young age. So it's like there literally is neural wiring that does say you will die. So if you got loved because you had no boundaries and you never said no, when you start to say no, it is going to feel like you're going to die. If you have not had boundaries with yourself around food or money, when you start to have them, you're going to think that you're going to die and that life's not worth living anymore and it's so boring. You know, boundaries at first, healthy boundaries, do feel dysfunctional until they don't.
Yep. That's it.
Right.
So much here.
Yeah, so much here. We're going to be practicing this especially, and how to do this relationally all the way through Foundation. So if you have any questions from this video, please write it down. Please bring it to the group. We can't wait to hear them. We can't wait to hear how this has impacted you. I really want to surface if this feels to you like you feel confused or a little bit like something's getting unearthed or moved in you, and it feels a little bit scary. That's how I felt when I first started learning this work, and I really want to normalize that. And we're here to support you every step of the way. And if you have anything like that surfacing right now, please feel free to reach out to any of us, or you have questions and you're just like, I don't get this. That's totally okay. Totally okay. This is so new. So write it down and bring it to class, and that's going to add to the richness of the group.